Okay, well, okay, so I'm starting out here about to do a striped color tube pull. And I'm starting with 12/7, and in this case, probably using about 6 inches of it and building it up into kind of a Super Duty heavy intermediary point to go to my large tube, because it's going to have, the tube's going to be 50 by 5, and it'll have, 8 mils of color on it, and then another 12 mils of clear on that. So obviously, it'll be so heavy that when you go to melting that, I like to have this little buffer between my actual handle and the collar. And it also comes in handy. There's a lot of people in this webinar, so it's kind of weird for me. I never really can tell. Everybody's at different places. Everybody knows different things. So sometimes I kind of beat the horse until it's dead, just in case there's a few folks who've never seen anything like it. You never know. So in any case, I use I build up collars like this, both for making a hollow tube pull and also for like connecting to a mouthpiece of a heavy piece. And in that case, I would normally be able to run. I'll run off like 8 or 10 mil bridge stubs off of that collar, and then I can run that to somewhere else in the piece, so the big heavy piece isn't just supported by the connection to the mouthpiece or to wherever I'm connected to the vessel. And recently, actually, with the construction of Boba Fett, and right now I'm working on a Darth Vader mask, but I ended up using a handle like this, even though I wasn't connected to the vessel in the piece. So it became useful in that situation too. Mr. Gray and I were working a few months ago. He doesn't like to use anything bigger than like 10 mil rod to hold on to something of any kind of weight. He's just nervous it's going to crack. So he actually takes 12/7 handle and just bases down some solid on the end, and he constructs solid sculpture off the end of something like that. So that's something I never heard of. This is just a few months ago, and I already appropriated it. It just seems to be really useful. So you can see right there, it's like Super Duty, extra heavy. Sometimes I'll take 6 or 8 inches of the actual 12/7 and build that. Sometimes if there's like a piece of 1-inch heavy wall tubing lying around on the table, I'll pick that up and condense it back and do something like that. Oftentimes I'll take I usually like to have 16 mil heavy wall tube around too for kind of heavier duty things. So no, we're not frozen. That's a point, so we paused it.
Yeah, this was a prearranged pause.
Yeah. So I think we can go with that then. But in any case, this is the collar, the beginning of both a heavy hollow pull and ends up being, that's what I use for a handle, even on a really. Get what's going here. When you're heating up that large mass, the heat that kind of goes off to the side will usually creep right around, and it'll just melt right off the end of your tube. So. That's right. Yes, Robert. Totally.
My mic is high again. Are you sure? I mean, I don't doubt you, but like I had leaned in before. So tell me, is it really? Am I loud again? Yep. It seems like my computer. I'm not close. I'm not. I promise. I'm gonna do it again though.
I normally flare these out to about a little more than half the diameter of the tube I'm going to go to, and then I marve down the end of the tube a little bit also that I'm going to connect to. So I bring my big blank down a little, and I take that collar I've made and open it up a bit.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
So
Lost all sound.
Am I still louder than Banjo? Because I turned it way down.
You're a little quieter than me. Video isn't playing. Oh, we're good. We're just on a pause to everyone.
The video's not playing because it's over. Does anybody want to ask?
That's the webinar.
Yeah, bye. No, time to call out for pizza. No, if you have any questions for Banjo now about building the collar. Banjo, you might want to turn down, your speakers a little, because I can hear me coming out of your speakers again.
Okay, I'll do that because I can hear you plenty, so I'll just turn it down a little more.
Apparently everybody can. What did you do to lose all sound? Stephen, I don't know.
Say
Is
something,
it
Marcy.
easier? Yeah, is it easier to build up the 12 mil versus adding large pieces and condense?
You know, I think it can go either way. I'm not really sure what determines whether I build up the 12 mil. Actually, I think it's probably more labor intensive to build up a large, long section of 12 mil than it is to take a heavy wall piece of something bigger in diameter. So if I have it, I prefer to, a piece of 1 inch heavy is great. I don't use that for anything usually, but if someone's been working in my shop and leaves some scraps around, I love like a 3 or a 4 inch section of 1 inch heavy. I'll connect up to that and then really reduce it down so it's extremely thick. And yeah, yes, Eric, definitely a buffer.
Okay. Any other questions regarding the purpose or the process for making the collar?
I'm seeing a couple here. Let's see. The most efficient size for me, I think I like 50 mil heavy wall. But really, you can adjust this method. We'll see in the next two clips. You can totally adjust for any size tube. Like if I need a little bit of color, like say I've already used the rest of my if I've already used the rest of my material from a large pull and I need just another ball or two, like I'll grab a little piece of tube and lay a little bit, proportionally a little less color on it, proportionally a little less clear, and pull it. So really it works, I'd say, everywhere from 1 inch all the way up. I think the largest I've done it with is probably, I think I did it with a 60 mil tube once, but by the time all of the buildup came to the outside, it was just so large and unmanageable. I would prefer just to do 250 mils, but 45 mil heavy is a pretty nice diameter to use. I like using medium wall too. When you start going below, um, when you start going below 50 mil, I feel like lighter walls are better, thinner walls, because you get to the point where if you have a really heavy wall, like say 40 mil tube, and then you put all kinds of color and clear on it, you end up with kind of a small core once it's pulled out. So medium wall actually works pretty well with smaller stuff. Once you get into 40, 45, 50 mil, I like to just have heavy wall for the extra material. I don't run into any cracking problems with it really. Usually you try and make sure you don't have any acutes. Like when I connect up, here in a second, you'll see when I connect up to the blank, I try and make sure it's nice and smooth. And it doesn't typically, I don't really run into any problems with it. You do have to kind of visit it now and then when you're working on it and I definitely cover with like 12 or 14, Rob. And actually lately I've been using like 26 mil, and I'll heat up like a whole inch and a half at the end of a 26 mil and just go and stick the whole thing on there. I can totally encase a whole lined up piece of 50 mil in about 6 swipes. So lately I think that's probably what I prefer. It's less opportunities for bubbles because there's only 6 stripes. So it started one day I didn't have any 12 mil, and I did have 26 mil, so I picked up and tried it, and it was great. And actually a kid who worked with me, Frank Hooster, you shall know, he when he was learning tube pulls, I was doing that, and he actually tried it and liked it, and he never even learned to do it with 12 mil. He just started using 26 mil from the start with a 40 mil Herbie, and it worked fine for him. 50 by 5 is typically what I use, but if I had 50 by 4, I'd use that too.
All right, so have we answered all the questions, you think? Should we move on to
Let's
striping
move
now?
on, and more can come up. And